Okay, good evening. Today's class is on oral malignancies and pre-malignant lesions. Okay, oral cavity. What are the boundaries of oral cavity? The oral cavity begins from the skin vermilion border of the lips anteriorly to the junction of the soft palate superiorly. Okay, superiorly to the junction of the soft palate and the hard palate, and below inferiorly up to the line of the circumvallate papillae. That is the anterior two-third and posterior one-third of tongue. Okay, those are the boundaries from the skin vermilion border of the lips anteriorly to posteriorly upper part to the junction of the soft palate and the hard palate. I haven't written the hard palate part here, sorry. And inferiorly up to the level of the circumvallate papillae. And you know where the circumvallate papillae is, right? Anterior two-third and posterior one-third of the tongue. Okay. Now the common sites of carcinoma, oral cavity are the floor of the mouth, buccal mucosa, the tongue and retromolar trigon. So the tongue mostly is the anterior two-third of the tongue and that too mostly the lateral border. Now this is the most common site, that is the tongue. The anterior part of the tongue is the most common site of oral malignancies in the West. In India, the most common site is the gingivobuccal sulcus, okay, or the buccal mucosa. Now, like all malignancies, we should know the etiological factors, right? So, the etiology, they are tobacco, alcohol, everything related to tobacco, that is areca nut, pan masala, excuse me, yeah, pan masala, betel nut, all that. Then there is something called reverse smoking. Some of you might know that. That is, instead of the usual smoking, you put the other way and the burning part you put it in the mouth. That is the reverse smoking. Okay, that is also a high risk for oral malignancies, HPV virus, Epstein-Barr virus, and Plummer-Vinson syndrome. There are the 6 S's. This is something that you need to know. The 6 S's of the etiological factors for oral malignancies. They are spices, spirit, sepsis, sharp tooth, syphilis, smoking. They can ask you for your exam. Okay, the 6 S's of etiological factors of oral cavity. They are spices, spirit, sepsis, sharp tooth, syphilis, and smoking. Now, the malignancies of oral cavity, they usually squamous cell carcinoma. Mostly they are squamous cell carcinoma. They can also be adenocarcinoma, melanomas, salivary gland tumors, sarcomas, all that. So mostly they are, the histology is squamous cell carcinoma in case of oral malignancies. Okay, we'll just talk a little about the pre-malignant conditions. The pre-malignant conditions of oral malignancies are, they're divided into high risk, medium risk, and low risk. Okay, you need to know it like this: high risk, medium risk, and low risk. High risk is leukoplakia, erythroplakia, and chronic hyperplastic candidiasis. Medium risk is oral submucous fibrosis, syphilitic glossitis, Plummer-Vinson syndrome, and low risk is oral lichen planus, disc keratosis congenita, and discoid lupus erythematosus. So we will just talk a little bit about all this. You need to know what these are. Now, what is leukoplakia? It is a white patch. Any white patch or plaque that cannot be characterized clinically or pathologically as any other disease. That is leukoplakia. That is the definition of leukoplakia in the oral cavity. Okay, any white patch or plaque in the oral cavity that cannot be characterized clinically or pathologically as any other disease. Clinically, it is seen as smooth, wrinkled, or fissured, and histology is hyperkeratosis, acanthosis, and parakeratosis. If you take a biopsy, this is what you will get: hyperkeratosis, acanthosis, and parakeratosis. Leukoplakia is divided into homogeneous, and these are types of leukoplakia. Okay, homogeneous and non-homogeneous. Homogeneous, they divided into flat, corrugated, pumice-like, and wrinkled, whereas non-homogeneous are nodular, verrucous, ulcerated, and erythroleukoplakia. These are the types of leukoplakia. Okay, this is leukoplakia. You can see that. This is seen as a white patch. Initially, it is seen as a non-palpable translucent white discoloration. Then it becomes diffuse and slightly elevated, and it becomes opaque white, and later it becomes thickened white lesion with induration and fissuring. That is how it is there. Those are the 3 stages of leukoplakia. Leukoplakia is more in smokers, And the incidence of turning into malignancy is 5% in leukoplegia. The incidence increases in smokers up to 27 times, but you need to know this, the incidence of turning into malignancy is around 5% in leukoplegia. The thing about leukoplegia is once you stop smoking, it may regress. So it can either regress, it can persist, or it can progress. Okay, leukoplegia. So the treatment is accordingly. Treatment is stopping of pan chewing. There can be isoretinin, beta carotene, the local application, carbon dioxide laser excision, or yeah, laser treatment or excision. If it does not go with all these, then you can keep the patient on follow-up, stop tobacco, you can give local application, and in spite of that, if these does not resolve, then you can do an excision with skin graft if required. So that is the treatment of leukoplakia. Okay, leukoplakia is a white patch. Now coming to erythroplakia. That is a red patch. So it is a lesion in the oral mucosa that represents as bright red plaque which cannot be characterized clinically or pathologically as any other recognizable condition. That is erythroplakia. Yeah, surfaces may be nodular like leukoplakia, and it can coexist with leukoplakia. We mentioned that in leukoplakia. This is erythroplakia, the reddish patch. Now, we mentioned that the malignant incidence of malignancy is around 5%, but here it is around 20 times more malignant than leukoplakia, erythroplakia. Okay, so that is more malignant compared to leukoplakia. And the histology is parakeratosis with dysplasia. There it was parakeratosis, acanthosis and all, but here there is dysplasia. Classification can be divided into homogeneous, speckled or granular, and along with leukoplakia. Here the management is not wait and watch because there is dysplasia. So it is always excision and biopsy. Excision and send the specimen for biopsy. That is the treatment. Coming to chronic hyperplastic candidiasis, these are all pre-malignant conditions. Okay, we're talking about the high risk pre-malignant conditions. So we talked about leukoplakia, erythroplakia, and then we have chronic hyperplastic candidiasis. So that is dense chalky plaques of keratin, more opaque than the usual candidial leukoplakia. It is most commonly seen in the commissures, and lesion may extend to the vermilion. The chronic hyperplastic candidiasis the infection can occur in patients with immunological deficiency or with normal patients as well. This is hyperplastic candidiasis. The treatment is topical or systemic antifungal treatment for 6 weeks, and if the lesion persists after medical therapy, then surgical excision. Okay, now coming to the moderate risk conditions. That is oral submucous fibrosis. I don't have a picture for this, okay, but it is a progressive disease with fibrous bands from beneath the mucosa or in the submucosa. So there is initially scarring, then there will be contracture which leads to limited mouth opening and tongue movements. And the etiology is tobacco and alcohol. So the early forms, the features are burning sensation, exacerbated with spicy food. There could be vesicalization, blanching of mucosa, leathery mucosa, and after that late forms include, the features include later. They include fibrous bands with mucosa, limitation of mouth opening, and that leads to limitation of mouth opening. The interincisor distance would be less, narrowing of the oropharyngeal orifice, distortion of the uvula, and woody changes of mucosa and tongue. Treatment here you can give intralesional hydrocortisone injection or hyaluronidase injection along with vitamin and iron supplements, and excision of the fibrous band so that the mouth opening can be better. There can also be temporalis myotomy followed by, because the trismus could be because of the infiltration to the muscles, right? So temporalis myotomy followed by split thickness skin graft or other nasolabial or lingual pedicle flaps. So that is submucous fibrosis. I don't have a picture for that. Now there is sideropenic dysphagia, that is dysphagia in iron deficiency anemia. Plummer-Vinson syndrome is also a risk factor for oral malignancies. So iron deficiency causes epithelial atrophy and oral mucosa gets vulnerable to irritants. That is how they can develop malignancies, and the treatment is correction of iron deficiency. Okay, coming to lichen planus. Lichen planus, the name comes from lichen, that is primitive plants, and planus, that is flat. So it is a common chronic immunological inflammatory mucocutaneous disorder that varies in appearance from keratotic to erythematous and ulcerative, affecting the stratified squamous epithelium. So it can affect the they can have lesions over the skin of the body, especially the legs, as well as oral mucosa. Okay, this is the oral mucosa lichen planus. Okay, that's all. This is the oral mucosa lichen planus. So now coming back to oral malignancies, we were talking about the pre-malignant lesions. Now oral malignancies. We mentioned in India the most common site is gingivobuccal sulcus, whereas in Western countries it is the tongue, especially the anterior part of the tongue, lateral side. Like every other malignancies, there is TNM staging for oral malignancies. Okay, it is a little difficult. I think you just need to know that T1, T2, T3. T1 is tumor less than 2 centimeter. T2 is between 2 to 4 centimeter. T3 is more than 4 centimeter. One thing that you need to know is in the TNM staging of oral malignancies, the depth of invasion, DOI, depth of invasion is also included. Okay, so yeah, that'll you will get a little more confusing if you try to learn that, but you just need to know that the depth of invasion is also included in the TNM staging in oral malignancies. So T1 is tumor less than 2 centimeter, T2 is 2 to 4 centimeter, T3 is more than 4 centimeter, and T4 is advanced, moderately advanced or very advanced. Moderately advanced is T4A. So that is when the tumor involves the cortical bone or involves the inferior alveolar nerve, floor of mouth, skin of face, all that. That is moderately advanced. Very advanced is, you need to know this, okay? T4B or very advanced oral malignancy. This has been a question for you. Very advanced oral malignancy is when the tumor invades the masseter space, pterygoid plates or skull base, or encases the internal carotid artery. Actually, there is another slide. I'll show you. There's another slide. Okay, now the end staging is NX nodes not assessed, N0 no metastasis, N1 when it involves a single ipsilateral lymph node less than 3 centimeter, and then N2 is divided into A, B, C. A is metastasis in single ipsilateral lymph node more than 3 centimeter, but that is 3 to 6 centimeters, and N2B is multiple but same side. Okay, N2A is single same side, N2B is multiple but same side, which is again not more than 6 centimeter, and N2C is bilateral or contralateral, again not more than 6 centimeters. N3 is when there is more than 6 centimeters. There is actually N3B as well, that is with extranodular extension. I didn't get that. Okay, you need to know just this much, and this again, the nodal for all oral cavity malignancies is this. This is again important for you. The nodal spread N1, N2A, N2A, N2B, N2C, and N3. Okay, and this is easy actually. Then M0 is no evidence of metastasis, M1 is evidence of distal metastasis, and staging accordingly. Like I said, this is important. Features of very advanced carcinoma oral cavity is involvement of retromolar trigone, extension into the base of the skull and pharynx, fixed cervical lymph nodes, and extension to the opposite side. Also involvement of the carotid artery. Now, investigation. How do you investigate oral malignancy? That is, you take an edge biopsy. What is edge biopsy? Edge biopsy, you include the lesion as well as the normal area as well. So you take the biopsy from the edge so that you can involve the normal area as well. Suppose if it is from the tongue, you can involve a part of the normal tongue as well. So they can when they do a pathological examination, they can evaluate both the normal as well as the abnormal site. That is edge biopsy. Then FNAC, CT scan, MRI scan, and orthopantomogram. When the lesion is fixed, then there is probably a bone involvement, and that is when you do a CT scan. Otherwise, and you can also do an MRI scan to know the soft tissue involvement, base of skull involvement, and perineural spread. Orthophantomogram you do to know the involvement of the mandible. A little bit about the treatment. In general, if it is a buccal mucosa, carcinoma, buccal mucosa, or cheek, the lymph node involvement is very common. 50% of the cases will have lymph node involvement. And treatment is usually wide excision with 2 centimeter margins and supraomohyoid block dissection. If there are palpable lymph nodes or clinical lymph nodes, then you will have to do a radical neck dissection as well. This is the treatment. If the lesion involves the mandible, if there is bone involvement, then marginal mandibulectomy or segmental or hemimandibulectomy depending upon the involvement of the bone. Marginal mandibulectomy, segmental or hemimandibulectomy. Then after that, like all the other malignancies, then there is post of RT and chemo, especially in T3 and T4 lesions. If it is a fixed primary tumor or advanced disease, then you need to give palliative RT. The chemo cycles are, the regime is methotrexate, cisplatin, vincristine, bleomycin and adriamycin. These are the chemo agents commonly used. Okay, you need to know the prognosis, that's okay. Now again for the carcinoma lip as well. Okay, here upper lip is usually BCC and lower lip is squamous cell carcinoma. Why? Do you remember the Ongren's line? The line drawn between the angle of lip to the ear lobule or tragus. That is the Ongren's line. So above that there are more chances of BCC, and below that, that is how. So BCC is common in the upper lip and squamous cell carcinoma is common in the lower lip. There is something called verrucous carcinoma where the lymph node spread is nil. So they have a good prognosis. Okay, the presentation is usually painless ulcerations which can become painful. Then spread to submental and submandibular lymph nodes, fungation, bleeding, halitosis. And because of the involvement of the mental nerve, there can be anesthesia of chin as well. Treatment is for less than 2 centimeter lesions. You can give curative RT or wide excision. For more than 2 centimeter lesions, it is always wide excision. If more than 1/3 of the lip is excised, then you will have to reconstruct the lip. Otherwise, if it is less than 1/3, then it is okay. You don't have to undergo reconstruction. Carcinoma tongue, which is the most common malignancy in the Western population, it presents an ulcerative or ulceroproliferative lesion mostly. And most commonly it is the squamous cell carcinoma. It can also be adenocarcinoma or melanoma. It, like we mentioned, anterior part, mostly the lateral margin is most commonly involved. The presentations are painless ulcer, which can become painful later, odynophagia, dysphagia, halitosis, change in voice, and lymph nodal spread. So there could be palpable nodes. Local spread to the muscle, genioglossus, floor of mouth or opposite side, and lymphatic spread we mentioned to the submental, submandibular nodes. Here again, treatment less than 2 centimeter, wide excision with 1 centimeter margin. If less than 1/3 of the tongue is resection is done, reconstruction is not required, like the lip. And after, if it is less than 2 centimeter, there can also be the treatment is also brachytherapy or carbon dioxide laser. If it is more than 2 centimeter, the treatment is hemiglossectomy. For larger lesions, you might need a pre-op RT followed by hemiglossectomy. There is something called the commando operation, which includes hemiglossectomy, hemimandibulectomy, and radical neck dissection. And yeah, if the growth includes a posterior 2/3, then you might have to have a lip split approach or the mandible resection approach to do a glossectomy. Following glossectomy, there is postoperative chemotherapy and there is palliative chemo. The most common chemo agents used are methotrexate, vincristine, adriamycin, bleomycin, mercaptopurine. Yeah, that is all. Thank you.